Hi, my name is Chris Warner, and today we're going to be taking digital photographs of three-dimensional objects. We'll be using some form and space projects from the Foundation Department here at Otis.
All cameras have two ways of controlling the amount of light that hit the sensor. First, the shutter, which like a spring-loaded gate can be set to stay open for a very precise amount of time. Let's watch the shutter work. First at a full second, and then twice as fast at 1/2 second, twice as fast again at 1/4 of a second, and so on. Each lower speed reduces the amount of light by exactly 1/2 from the speed preceding it. This control is called the shutter speed. In the lens, the aperture control allows for a precise amount of light to pass through. Starting here with the largest opening at f3.5, each subsequent click represents a reduction of the amount of light coming through by 1/2. The larger the number, or f-stop, the less light passes through. On the focusing ring are numbers indicating the distance at which the lens is focused. Our lens is focused here at a point 4 feet away. With the aperture set here at f32, marked in blue, it corresponds with this blue line and this blue line. So everything between these two lines on the distance scale will be in focus. That is, roughly between 3 feet out to 7 feet away, our subject will appear focused. This 4 feet of focused information is called the depth of field. And you will notice how quickly that depth of field diminishes. At f22, marked in yellow, the distances that fall between these two yellow lines, 3.5 to about 5 feet, gives us a depth of field of just over 2 feet. And here at f11, marked in red, the depth of field is down to about 1 foot. If you open the lens aperture completely to f3.5, only that point which you have focused on will appear sharp. When shooting three-dimensional objects, you can maximize the depth of field by following the thirds rule. Measure the total depth of your subject and divide by 3. Focus your lens on a point 1/3 of the way in this case about 7 inches from the front edge. Use manual focus to control this. Pin up a large piece of white paper, rolling it down to create a seamless backdrop without creases or folds. Place your object on the paper carefully to keep the surface clean. Now we can place the lights. First is our main and strongest light, streaming in at about 45-degree angle. A second light is placed to the opposite side, a little further away. Mount your camera on a tripod and situate it directly in front of the piece. Let's look at the object lit directly, without the reflective umbrella, to see the difference between harsh direct light and soft reflected light. Direct light produces sharp, high-contrast shadow shapes on the background, but with the light reflected off of the umbrella, the result is softened and more modulated. The fill light is bounced off of a white card and adjusted to bring a weaker, softer illumination to the dark side of the form. Work with the lights to keep the main source just slightly stronger than the fill. An alternative to reflective umbrellas or soft lights used in lighting studios can be improvised by stretching a thin white fabric or translucent scrim in front of a hot light directed at your subject. Let's take a light meter reading, now with everything lit. Since we don't want the camera to base its light reading on the bright white background, we use a gray card or some middle value colored surface placed just in front of the setup, perpendicular to the camera lens. Still in auto mode, while looking through the viewfinder at the gray card, depress the shutter release button halfway and make note of the aperture and shutter speed so that in manual mode you can set these exact readings. We've lit the work and taken light meter readings so that now we can pull back and compose our shot. Check out different heights of view to select the best overall. Now focus in manual on the point 1/3 of the distance in and make the final exposure. Another easy approach to ensuring proper exposure is to select aperture priority mode and select a small aperture. In this case, I've set it at f/16. Then use the exposure compensation button to shoot a series of exposures that range from the minus or darker versions through to the plus or brighter versions. From this group of exposures, you can choose the one that most accurately reflects your work of art. A minimum of 3 views will adequately document most sculptural objects. Shoot the overall best view first, and then rotate the sculpture to select 2 more views. 3/4 angled views are preferred, rather than straight-on frontal, profile, or rear view shots. The 3/4 angled view gives information about 2 sides of the subject rather than just one. In summary, when shooting 3D works of art, number 1, use a tripod and be sure you have plenty of soft light. 2, use manual or aperture priority modes to select a small aperture, f/16, f/22, or even smaller, to ensure sufficient depth of field. 3, manually focus on a point 1/3 of the distance into the subject. Number 4, be sure to capture the images in RAW as well as JPEG formats so that you can fully exploit the image's potential with Photoshop. Perhaps the best choice will be to go ahead and shoot outdoors. But with that wonderful natural light source comes some unforeseen challenges. So select a site that is protected from the wind for sure. Also make sure that you're not shooting into the sun, but rather with the sun lighting your piece at approximately 45 degrees from the left or the right. Keep the sun slightly behind you. Have some fun improvising a little stage. You'll need a platform or a low table and some sort of wall or backing from which to hang your seamless backdrop paper. Next, it is important to soften or filter the direct sunlight. Again, a thin white translucent sheet will create a scrim through which the sun will pass to softly light the sculpture. Getting all this just right can take some time. Now comes the placement of the work itself, well within the zone of soft light. Find some foam core or white cardstock to bounce fill light onto the shadow side of the form. Use the same exposure techniques discussed earlier to shoot each of your views. I hope this presentation helps you to make high-quality digital photographs of your 3-dimensional works of art so that you can now upload them to your learning portfolio.